this is Lady Boule, and I hope you're having a most marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you'll know when new videos are being uploaded. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support this channel. In light of the fact that the two women on the screen, Simone Biles and Sha'Carri Richardson, world-class athletes, are not participating in the Olympic Games this year for reasons specific to them, I want to talk about the journey of African American women into professional sports. I realize the Olympics is not considered professional sports, but there are a lot of professional athletes participating, and they pretty much have to be performing on a professional level if they want to win. I'm going to start by saying that whenever African American women decide to participate in professional sports or any other discipline, they know that they're going to be faced with two challenges: racism and sexism. So from the very beginning, their hearts and their minds have to be into whatever it is they're doing, especially professional sports. So I'm going to take a walk back down memory lane and talk about the pioneering African American women who competed their way to greatness even though they faced racism and sexism. I'm going to talk about those in the past as well as those today. They still face those same challenges. They are powerful athletes, but they're vulnerable women. On the screen are 5 African American female athletes. They are the pioneers who paved the way for today's superstar black female athletes. In the upper left-hand corner is Alice Coachman. In the middle is Althea Gibson. In the upper right is Wyoming Attias. In the lower left is Ora Washington. And in the lower right is Wilma Rudolph. Ora Washington was one of the top black female athletes in the early 1900s. She competed from 1925 to 1947. She was the first African American athlete to dominate 2 sports, tennis and basketball. By the mid-1920s, she'd become one of the brightest stars on the African American tennis circuit. By the 1930s, she was the nation's first full-fledged black female sports star, dominating not only black women's tennis, but basketball as well. No African American woman had ever played the way she did, according to the black newspapers of the day. They called her Queen Ora and described her as brilliant, fearless, and inimitable. No one who ever saw her play could forget her, said one of her admirers. Ora Washington was a victim of America's racist Jim Crow system. Because of this, she was not able to realize her full potential. She could not compete against the top white player of the day, neither could she access proper training facilities, and she did not receive the national recognition that she deserved. Nevertheless, she played, she was mesmerizing, she won, and in that way, she made the name for herself that needed to be made, and she paved the way for today's superstar African American female athletes. Ora Washington is a legendary African American superstar. Alice Coachman came on the scene 1 year after Ora Washington retired. She competed from 1940 to 1948. She was the first African American woman to win an Olympic gold medal. She specialized in the high jump, and she made history at the 1948 Olympics in London when she leaped to a record-breaking height of 5 feet 6 1/8 high. Ora Washington was not able to compete in the Olympics, so Alice Coachman had it at least a little bit better because the society was opening up. She still was not able to compete against the top white players of the day. Nevertheless, She went to the Olympics and she won, so she did what she had to do. She was highly celebrated for her athletic accomplishments, but she did not benefit from it in the way that athletes benefit financially because the Jim Crow system was still in play. Nevertheless, like Oral Washington, she paved the way for today's top female athletes. And for that, we are thankful for Alice Coachman and Oral Washington. When I think of Althea Gibson, I think of a woman who was born about 20 years too soon to benefit from her athletic abilities. She was a tennis player and a professional golfer, and one of the first black athletes to cross the color line of international tennis. She competed from 1956 to 1958. In 1956, she became the first African American to win a Grand Slam title, the French Championships, now the French Open. The following year, she won both Wimbledon and the U.S. Nationals, precursor of the U.S. Open. In 1958, she won Wimbledon and the U.S. Open again. She was also voted Female Athlete of the Year. She was also inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame and the International Women's Sports Hall of Fame. She's one of the greatest players who ever lived, said Bob Ryland, a tennis contemporary of Althea Gibson and former coach of Venus and Serena Williams. He said, Martina Navratilova couldn't touch her. I think she'd beat the Williams sisters. That's quite a statement. In 1956, America was still a segregated country with signs designating white and colored. Althea Gibson was often compared to Jackie Robinson. She was the first African American woman to play professional sports on the national and international stage, so she had to endure the same racist insults, slurs, and threats that he had. In those days, if an African American athlete was coming close to breaking a record set by a white athlete, they would start getting death threats. So this was the climate that they were competing in. Althea Gibson also suffered other indignities. Although she was invited to play in championship matches at wealthy country clubs, she could only play and then exit the court. She couldn't even use the bathroom. She had to change clothes in her car. But she was a champion in the best sense of the word, and she soldiered through to make and break records in tennis. After tennis, Althea Gibson joined the Women's Professional Golf Tour, but she didn't have the success in golf that she'd had in tennis. Nevertheless, she paved the way for today's gold star, super achieving African American women. I'm honored to have followed in such great footsteps, wrote Venus Williams. Her accomplishments set the stage for my success and players like myself and Serena and many others to come. Her legacy will live on. Indeed it will. Althea Gibson set it off for those who would come after her. It was her talent and others like hers that commanded the world's attention because they were the best. She was a world star athlete and classy lady. We're blessed to have such a woman in our ranks. We thank Althea Gibson for her gifts and her sacrifice and wish her peace and sweet rest forever. By the time Wilma Rudolph came on the scene, African American women athletes had set a trend of winning. She was a sprinter in track and field and competed from 1956 to 1960. Following her successes in the 1956 and 1960 Olympic Games, she became a world record-holding Olympic champion and international sports icon. She won a bronze medal in the 4x100 meter relay at the 1956 Summer Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. At the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, Italy, she won 3 gold medals in the 100 and 200 meter individual events and the 4x100 meter relay. Wilma Rudolph was named the fastest woman in the world in the 1960s and became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympic season. Due to the worldwide television coverage of the 1960 Summer Olympics, Wilma Rudolph became an international star. Her rise to prominence was unique in that she was born prematurely and contracted polio at age 5. She lost strength in her left leg and foot. Her parents sought treatment for her at historically black Meharry Medical College in Nashville. There she eventually regained strength in her leg and could walk again. Wilma Rudolph trained at historically black Tennessee State College under the renowned coach Ed Temple. Like other African American athletes, she endured racial segregation under Jim Crow laws. She wasn't able to compete in organized sports or access proper training facilities beyond Tennessee State College. Yet she persevered and succeeded. Wilma Rudolph has been duly celebrated for her accomplishments. She's inducted into the Black Sports Hall of Fame, the U.S. National Track and Field Hall of Fame, the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame, and the National Black Sports and Entertainment Hall of Fame. In 1984, the Women's Sports Foundation selected her as one of the 5 greatest women athletes in the United States. On July 14, 2004, the U.S. Postage Service issued a 23-cent postage stamp in her honor. Her life has been featured in documentary films and made for television movies. The debt to legendary athletes like Wilma Rudolph can't be paid, but we honor them by remembering them. Wilma Rudolph was the gold standard of African American women athletes. Her legacy stands as a monument of what can be done through hard work and determination. She's a tribute to her race and her country, and we wish her eternal peace and rest. I'm going to start this segment out by acknowledging that I am not familiar with Wyoming Attias. She's a track and field sprinter and competed from 1964 to 1968. She's the first person to retain the Olympic title in the 100 meter. She participated in the Olympic Games in 1964 in Tokyo and won a gold medal in the 100 meter and a silver medal in the 4x100 relay. She returned to the Olympics in 1968 in Mexico City and won another gold medal in the 100 meter. She retained her status, and she wants everybody to know that, and she won another gold medal in 1968 in the 4x100 meter relay. In 1967, in the Pan American Games in Winnipeg, Canada, she won a gold medal in the 200 meter. So there are 2 reasons why Wyoming Attias has not received the national and international acclaim that the African American female winners received that came before her. Number 1, she came on the heels of Wilma Rudolph, a beautiful, charismatic gold medal winner, and she competed in 1968 in Mexico City. These were the Olympic Games in which John Carlos, a bronze medal winner, and Tommie Smith, a gold medal winner, raised their fists in protest when the American national anthem was being played. This was all anybody was talking about. I was young at the time, but I remember it. They took up all the wind out of that Olympic season. Tommie Smith and John Carlos raised their fists as a sign of solidarity with oppressed people around the world. Wyoming Attias said she wore dark shorts instead of the American standard white shorts as her way of showing solidarity with the oppressed people of the world. Recently, Wyoming Attias said that she wore dark shorts during her races as her own way of protesting. It was because I was fighting for human rights, and that was the right thing for me to do, she said. I just knew I had my dark shorts, and this will be my way of standing with people who were saying what is happening in the world is unfair. I was brought up with this. I was brought up with Jim Crow laws enforcing racial segregation, so that was my reason for wearing it. Wyoming Attias experienced the sting of racism, racial insults, racial slurs, and being denied access to proper training facilities outside the Tennessee State College campus, much like Wilma Rudolph. She was also unable to compete in organized sports, much like Wilma Rudolph. But like those that came before her, she competed and she won. Wyoming Attias is an American sports hero. After competition, she went on to build a successful life for herself. In 1985, she was inducted in the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame, and in 1999, her hometown of Griffin, Georgia, honored her by naming a city park after her. Wyoming Attias is still alive, so we can give her her flowers now and thank her for what she did for women in sports. We thank Wyoming Attias and wish her the best in all that she is doing and will do in the future. And these are the shoulders that today's African American female athletes stand on. These shoulders were built of strength, character, love of the game, and a desire to make a statement to the world of who they were. These shoulders were also built on racism, humiliation, and downright unfairness. But they represented themselves, their race, and their country, and they did it well. These athletes are the crown jewels in the African American story, and their legacies will live on forever. Here is just a handful of today's African American women athletes. They range from gold medal winners to Grand Slam winners. They receive exposure, big money contracts, and endorsements that those who came before them couldn't even dream of receiving. And occasionally, we hear them complaining about racism or sexism because I'm black or because I'm a woman. They didn't take this into consideration or they didn't take that into consideration. And we have to gently remind them of whose shoulders they stand on. That what they're going through is nothing compared to what those that came before them went through. But we believe them and we support them. And we are very proud of these African American women. And as they continue to reach new heights, we hope that they will remember their history and the legacies that they stand on and the shoulders that they stand on. I would be remiss in not mentioning this young woman, Florence Griffith Joyner, whom we affectionately knew as FloJo. She competed from 1984 to 1988. She won 3 gold medals and 3 silver medals. She was beautiful, she was mesmerizing, and she was fast. She was named the fastest woman alive in 1988, and her record stood for 33 years. It was only broken this year by a Jamaican sprinter named Elaine Thompson. FloJo made a great contribution to African American women athletes and to America as a whole. We miss FloJo and love her. Rest in peace, FloJo. I'm going to end this video with these two. These are two of today's African American athletes. Simone Biles is called the GOAT of gymnastics, the greatest of all times. and certainly she has proven herself worthy of that title. It was very unfortunate that she was not able to present herself as her best self at the beginning of the Olympics. But like the true champion she is, she pushed her way through. She pushed through whatever was happening in her life, and she came back and won a bronze medal. And that bronze medal signifies the excellence, the fortitude, the resilience, and determination of her and of the ones who came before her. Sha'Carri Richardson's story is still being written. It was a disappointment that she was not able to compete in the Olympics because of her own actions and decision that she made based on what was happening in her life. Unlike Simone Biles, she had not proven herself at the Olympics or really on the international stage. I hope for her that she will be able to recover and come back and show us what she's truly capable of doing. But these two stand on those same shoulders. They have the same legacy. Well, just as I thought I was finished, I just saw that Allyson Felix has won a bronze medal in this year's Olympics. This makes her the most decorated athlete, male or female, in World Athletics Championships history with 18 career medals. So, congratulations to Allyson Felix, and the legacy continues. In closing, African American women, powerful athletes, but vulnerable women. They're the best of the best. They've been at it for over 100 years. They've endured Jim Crow, racism, sexism, and any other impediment that you could think of. But they've been steadfast and determined. They've made their people proud and their country. African American women may be vulnerable, but they stick with it, and the legacy will continue. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share the video. And as always, have a great day.